don't know what it is, but something about this movie is starting to have me feel like things are getting a little bit too meta. I would be a hypocrite if I didn't mention how the amount of news around this project, the amount of casting reveals around this project, is starting to negatively impact any hype I might have had for Scream 7. If I'm going to criticize movies like Superman for revealing too much too often, then I have to do the same here. The truth is that Spyglass, Kevin Williamson, and everyone involved with this movie is walking a very fine line right now. And I would be lying if I said I wasn't starting to have major concerns about this movie. Let's discuss.
I watch so you don't have to.
All I'm offering is the truth, nothing more.
So in recent weeks, we had a whole host of casting announcements related to this movie, with many legacy characters rumored to be returning.
I'm feeling woozy here!
Now, I'm not against the idea of legacy characters returning in any movie, it just has to be done the right way. And I'd like to say that I have faith in someone like Kevin Williamson, who is a very important figure in this franchise. And to a certain degree, given his history, I am willing to give him a chance to do the right thing. But if I compare this situation to a lot of other similar situations going on in Hollywood right now, there are a lot of red flags starting to pop up. Is Scream 7 not starting to sound just a little bit desperate to some of you, because it is to me? This is starting to feel like a Marvel situation or a Fast and Furious situation where they are bringing back recognizable names whether it makes sense or not. And it's all with the intention of leaning on them and hopefully enticing people to go to the theaters in 2026.
Something very familiar about all this.
And as I say in all of those situations, I have very little interest in something like that. Because what that typically signifies is an unwillingness to evolve and an unwillingness to move the franchise forward. And instead you are just looking to the past as a desperate way to try to reignite interest in this brand. If all of these names were not announced ahead of time and were saved for surprise reveals in the film itself, or maybe even hinted at in a trailer, that would be acceptable. The fact that they are announcing them this far in advance, before we even have a trailer, does feel a little bit gimmicky. Now, I'm pretty confident that no matter what happens, this movie will be miles and away better than Scream 6, because you can't get much worse. But as far as restoring that old feeling that I got from the original trilogy, or even Scream 4, I'm not quite as optimistic.
Don't f*** with the original.
For those that don't know, David Arquette will return as Dewey for Scream 7 per deadline. He joins the likes of Matthew Lillard as well as Scott Foley as returning characters who had what looked to be definitive deaths. So are the AI rumors we've been hearing true? It's a good possibility. But I have to ask the question, are we ruining the surprise? In whatever capacity they are brought back in, is this somehow cheapening their deaths? Are they making the concept of death in Scream movies significantly less impactful? That would be a bit of a problem for a slasher movie, wouldn't you think? Now, on the positive side of things, I'm sure this news is going to piss a certain group of individuals off, namely those people who pretend to be Scream fans, but only really care about two actresses who are no longer involved. And in that aspect, anytime those individuals are miserable, that's a good thing for everyone.
How can fandom be toxic?
If you told me that Scream 7 is going to ignore the events of Scream 5 and 6 completely and erase them from the timeline, I would be interested in something like that. But it is doubtful that that's the case, considering we do have returning characters from Scream 5 and 6. At the end of the day, Dewey should have never died in the first place, especially not in the manner in which he did, and we all know that. But it did happen, and unfortunately, because you put the wrong people in charge, we can't take it back. So taking that into consideration, again, I have to ask the question, what is the point? Are we doing flashbacks? Are we doing de-aging technology? Are we doing AI? These are just a few things that I've heard rumors of, and I'm not really keen on any of those ideas. It's starting to feel like they came up with a gimmick for Scream 7, so they have a half-ass excuse to bring back all of these characters that really have no need to be back. I mean, you have Neve Campbell back, that's the most important element in any Scream movie, so you build the movie around her. Continuing her fight against Ghostface and hopefully giving her a proper finale at some point in the process. I just don't think that this movie needs all of these bells and whistles to be successful. I certainly don't think all of this should be revealed this far in advance. With every piece of information that is revealed about this movie, I get a little less interested in it. Scream 7 is committing the cardinal mistake that I give movies like Superman for all the time, that being it's revealing too much. Scream is Scream without all of this, without all the dangling of the member berries. Real Scream fans are going to show up to see this movie no matter what. And no, I'm not talking about the idiots who are boycotting Spyglass and attacking anyone who doesn't.
What an idiot! Oh, what a loser!
Real Scream fans understand what this franchise is all about, and that is precisely why most of us didn't like Scream 5 and 6 all that much. Those movies deviated too much from what the original franchise was meant to represent. And that is precisely why they are Scream movies in name only. Now, Scream 7, at first glance, had the makings of returning this franchise to its original form. But the more that I hear about it, the more that it feels like they are starting to make some of the same mistakes.
Big mistake.
Now, I've seen people discuss the idea that this movie could be the Scream franchise's version of A New Nightmare. In other words, it would bring the horror to the real world, and thus make all of these returns make a hell of a lot more sense. Because in that situation, you would have a real-life Ghostface targeting the actors who portrayed these characters in the original films. And I'm just going to say I like that idea a hell of a lot more than I do the AI idea. I think it would fit into the Scream, Wes Craven meta approach to filmmaking nicely. So I guess we'll have to wait and see how all of this plays out. All I can hope for is that Kevin Williamson and Spyglass do not continue to get in their own way, and hopefully they save some surprises for when we actually watch the film.
Y'all be cool. Right on.